Good morning and welcome to Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman. And I'm so excited you guys are with us this morning. We're here to empower you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, and your children to be as healthy as they can possibly be naturally. And the one thing that I absolutely love about this is people always talk about the word wellness. And you may ask to yourself, what does that word really mean? And what I've learned over time is that wellness is a little more of this and a little less of that. And at the end of the day, I always say to myself, if you could have your health any way you wanted it, if it could look perfectly, if you could function at a high level of health and vitality, how would you function? How would things work? And what most people oftentimes don't pay attention to is, what does health really mean? We're being taught that if we feel good, we're well, and if we feel bad, we're sick. But that's not how the body functions and works. If you look up the definition of health in Dorland's Medical Dictionary, it simply states that it's the body's ability to have social, physical, and mental well-being, merely without the absence of disease, which means that your body is supposed to function at a very high level of health and vitality without symptoms. But whether you have symptoms or not does not mean that you're healthy. And this comes from one of the most amazing processes of how the body functions and works. You also have to start to ask yourself, how much money are we spending in the United States for supposed health care? And they say 75%, which is $2.8 trillion, is spent on U.S. health care. And many people will walk through and drive through our countryside, and they'll see huge health centers. These health centers are constantly expanding, they're growing, they're building to bigger and bigger volumes. Yet if you really ask yourself, how many people wake up in the morning, they yawn and stretch and say, oh God, I feel so good today, I think I'm going to go to the local health center. Because the reality is, the health center is a sick care center. It's a place where people go when they feel not only sick, but have terrible sicknesses, diseases, illnesses. And if you're like my dad, as many of you know, he's a volunteer fireman. And I've got to tell you, after doing that for 56 years, he is the person that you want to go to if something is wrong. An emergency care situation. And believe me, he will take you to the local health center. But to think that that is the answer for health is a huge contradiction to not only your health and vitality, but your whole family's health and wellness. It is a sick care center. And at the end of the day, you may ask yourself, but it's a chronic disease. The reality is, when you actually look at what a dis-ease is, it means the body is not functioning at its most optimal level of health and vitality, which it's made to do that. What I absolutely think is very interesting is many people will sit in our exam rooms and tell us, well, the reason why I have this disease or sickness or illness is because of my aunt, my uncle, my sister, my brother. But the reality is, Harvard's research is showing us that genetics only play between a 15 and 20% role in your health. The rest is your lifestyle. So I want you to begin to see the connection that chronic diseases, that most of them are preventable, and they are because of the lifestyle choices that we are making every single day. And the reason for us talking about health and wellness, to teach you to be the best you can possibly be, is because you have choices. And many people walk away from this system feeling like they don't have the choice to become well. They almost feel like they're stuck within a box, that this is their chosen path. And I'm here to tell you that's not the reality of things. And at the end of the day, I ask you to start to think about this. What type of thinking, what type of conversations, what type of adapting and actions do you have to do to actually make good, positive change, to facilitate wellness? Or do you look at things and say, you know what, I would love to function at a higher level of health. I'd love to learn how to eliminate symptoms. Or are you okay with suppressing symptoms? And you have to ask yourself, what does that mean? See, when a body gets to a point where you have a symptom or a disease or a body breakdown or an illness, your body has not been functioning for a long period of time. Symptoms don't just happen and occur. It's interesting how the nerve system works. For many of you that have known us for a long time, you'll know that the central nervous system, the main system created when you were conceived, controls every single organ, tissue, and cell in the body. And you have to ask yourself, is that where health comes from? And it does. And if that central nervous system can send the signal out to the organ, tissues, and cells, up to the brain and back down again, your body gets to function at its most optimal level of health and vitality. However, we live in a world of massive stresses, physical, chemical, and emotional. Physical stresses are things such as, how many hours a day do you sit while you're at work? You may get up, move around, go for a walk, but how many hours? Many people will tell me they sit behind a desk 6 to 9 hours a day for 4 to 5 days a week. What about when you go home? You get in your car, you ride on the bus, you ride on a bicycle to head home. And then you go home and you may make your meal, or like most people, they'll say, gosh, you know what, I'm tired, let's do something fast. And then what do? Oftentimes we sit right down in front of that sofa and watch TV. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, well, isn't that a huge physical stress on my body? Think about your children. How many hours are they sitting in a chair at school? What type of physical activities are they really getting? The way that they really should be exercising? Or have we turned ourselves into a technologically based society where we're sitting most of the time? Physical stresses can be events, things such as falls, even as a kid, falling off a horse, out of a tree. And also, you have to start to think to yourself about car accidents. But I want you to see those are simply events. Those are moments in time where a physical stress occurred in your life. Also, chemical stresses are huge. What type of foods are you eating? Are you making healthy choices and decisions? And I don't mean going to the grocery store and buying things out of boxes or processed or packaged foods, or looking for the labels that say low fat, no fat, fat free. You have to ask yourself, what are they doing to the food to make it be low fat, no fat, and fat free? See, wouldn't it make sense for us to buy and eat chemical free meats, vegetables, and fruits? Things that are good for your body. The other thing I want you to think about that can be a chemical stress is, what are you drinking? Are you drinking pure filtered waters? Or are you reaching for sodas, coffees, and teas and saying it's okay because you're reaching for diet? And also, too, medications, whether they're prescribed or not. And believe me, I look at medications and say, oftentimes, believe me, you need them. But the reality is, the United States, we are taking, if you look at the whole entire world, the U.S. is taking 69% of all the medications in the whole entire world. And you have to ask yourself, is your body absent of aspirin? Is your body absent of all of these different medications? Or are you simply suppressing symptoms? And you've got to also ask yourself, what are you suppressing? What body alerts are occurring that are saying to you, something is wrong and it is time to change? And when you do make those changes, you've got to start to realize that it's putting a little bit of this into your body and taking a little bit of this away. Are you eating too many cookies and cakes and pies and ice cream and not drinking enough of proper water? Are you taking too many medications, yet you're not exercising? And you have to start to ask yourself, are you ready to change? 1 in 3 U.S. children are overweight or obese. And obesity prevalence among children and adolescents has tripled since 1980. That's tripled. You've got to ask yourself, if we supposedly have a healthcare system, why are we becoming sicker? And that's why I look at things and say, what we really have is a sick care system, and we're labeling it as health. And if you go back to the definition of what health is, it has nothing to do with whether you have a symptom or not. You also have to ask yourself, what are your minimal recommended daily aerobic physical activities every single day? What should you be doing? And I've got to tell you, if you don't exercise on a normal basis, why not start with a 5-minute walk? Do that for a few days and add a minute each day. You'll get to see beautiful nature, your body will get to move, and I guarantee you great things will occur. You also have to start to ask yourself, what's the average time spent on daily media? On TV, computers, movie, phones, and games. And what I read was that it's 6.5 hours per day. In CDC, the CDC states that 1 in 5 to 1 in 3 adults will be diabetic by 2050. Up to 95% of those people that actually lose weight will regain that weight again. And when someone is obese, you've got to start to ask yourself, who are they spending time with? Because the reality is, oftentimes the choices and decisions we make will also affect the people around us. They affect our loved ones and our friends and our children. And I ask you to start to really begin to see, is it time for you to make different choices and decisions? Are you ready to improve your health and vitality? Or is this just something that we say to ourselves because it makes us feel better? And everybody likes, of course, to feel better. But at the end of the day, are you really moving towards being healthy and well? Or are you moving towards being sick and ill? And the choice is your decision. And the full power is in your hands to be the best you can possibly be. And today, we're going to be interviewing such an amazing, amazing doctor of chiropractic. He's one of the best chiropractors in the whole entire world. His name is Dr. Dan Yachter. He practices in Florida, an absolutely amazing guy. I can't wait for you to listen to his story because he's going to talk about his father. His father has had migraines, I believe, since he was 7 years old for most of his life. And he's going to talk to you about how not only did his father's health completely change, migraines absolutely went away, but his health is absolutely beautiful in his 70s right now. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. I can't wait for you to hear this amazing, life-changing story that can not only happen to you, but has definitely happened to this gentleman.
Christman Family Chiropractic, a creating wellness center located at 2310 Churchville Road, Suite C in Bel Air, is enhancing lives through the power of a chiropractic adjustment. As a licensed chiropractor in Maryland and Pennsylvania, Dr. Evan Christman can correct damage from years of lifestyle stresses while educating you to maintain good health for your lifetime. A dedicated professional with a very special focus on children with learning differences and autism, Dr. Christman treats people of all ages, newborn babies, children, pregnant women, families, seniors, and professional golfers. Isn't it time for you to reclaim your life? Take your first step toward health and vitality today. Call Christman Family Chiropractic, a creating wellness center at 410-734-4060 and let their experienced staff show you how to restore the flow of life. 410-734-4060 or check them out at restorelifeflow.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman. I'm so happy you guys are with us. We're going to be interviewing Dr. Dan Yachter from Florida. He is one of the best chiropractors, most passionate chiropractors in the world. And I've got to tell you, his father has the most amazing, life-changing story. And I can't wait for you to absolutely not only tune in and listen, but listen with both ears. Sit down, pay attention, bring your friends and family around the radio, and absolutely begin to see how your life can change too for the positive. I'm so excited you're with us this morning, and what I absolutely love about this is, I've met you once before. You're such an amazing person, and what really struck me about you is that you are not only such a smart and intelligent chiropractor, you have such an amazing story of how you started to get into chiropractic and how it changed your family as well. but the passion that you have for not only empowering the community and the world as to what health and wellness really is what I think is so exciting about having you today. So tell us, Dr. Dan, how did you get into chiropractic?
Well, yes, I mean, it's clearly I'm very excited, very passionate, very, very focused on what it is that, we do as chiropractors and as this chiropractic community. And, obviously it's a passion for teaching about this unbelievable inborn wisdom, this universal intelligence, or this innate intelligence that exists within our bodies that can bring about awesome restoration and maintenance of health and healing for a lifetime. And something I saw early on really kind of, connected the dots for me. And it happened, it really happened in my own family. And it was something that I saw with my own father. My father is 71 years of age today. And when he was 7 years old, he was playing in a summer camp in a lake. And he found a slide, and that other kids had been going down. And he walked up the slide, got to the top of the slide, and he decided to go down head first.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, he had no idea what was waiting for his head. There was a cast iron bathtub waiting for his head. And no idea it was there. It was placed there by a couple of crazy kids who were playing around the slide before he got there.
Oh, my gosh.
And he came down, and his head, virtually turned into the human battering ram. And massive head trauma when he collided with the bathtub. Split his skull wide open. And just use your imagination on the extent of that trauma right there.
Oh, my Lord.
Got knocked out cold, sank to the bottom of the lake, almost drowned. And a lifeguard, thankfully, was able to spot my dad, got him to the hospital. They patched him back up, laid there for many, many, many days, and then actually ended up going home. When he got home, he ended up developing these crushing migraine headaches as a young boy.
Wow.
And my grandparents were concerned, brought him to doctors. No one can figure out what was wrong with him. They couldn't get him answer solutions. They basically told my dad, you're just going to have to learn how to live with these really for the rest of your life. And so he proceeded to do so. Not realizing there were other options and solutions, he just believed the allopathic approach. He put, my father's family, my entire family always put their faith in what medicine told them. So, and obviously, they took that advice. So my father proceeded to live with these headaches for the next 40 years of his life. I mean, crippling migraine headaches. So there I am 40 years later, I'm growing up watching my father walk around the house with his head in his hands, having these torturous migraine headaches where he'd have to lie in a dark, quiet room, no noise, no light, non-functional, disabled, handicapped from these headaches. Ended up taking so many medications that they started, messing with organs, affecting his kidneys, his liver, his stomach. He used to literally eat bottles of aspirin. Medications that ended up destroying his thyroid. And he ended up destroying his thyroid, and the doctors put him on Synthroid for his thyroid for 34 years. Regulated his thyroid because he started developing all the sequelae that go along with a non-functional thyroid, overweight, cold all the time, and all kinds of lethargy, all kinds of issues. Then, of course, the medications didn't do any good for his brain chemistry, which caused a lot of irritability, moodiness, all kinds of issues mentally. And so, his problem just continued to get worse, hopeless, desperate, fearful for his health and his life. And we searched high and low, never able to get any answers. And my brother, many years later, happened to be driving down the road at the University of Florida as a student, got into a really bad car accident. The doctors told him that he may need surgery and drugs, spinal surgery, all, the crazy, aggressive approach that many, allopathic physicians take. My brother was going to do it. Was going to follow that instruction because that's what we always did in my family. We always followed that allopathic approach or methodology.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's best friend at the University of Florida he had been helped by a chiropractor, and he said, my brother, you should go down the road and see my chiropractor. This guy not only helped me, this guy in fact saved my life. You should go see him. And my brother's response to that offer was, what is a chiropractor? He had no clue what that was. He had no concept of what that was. We never went to one in my own family. We never would have considered going to one because we were always allopathic in our orientation.
And and Dr. Dan,
my brother, he was very out of desperation and out of trust for his good friend, he decided to make a huge leap of faith and go to the chiropractor. And within 3 weeks, had full health and function restored to his body. He didn't need the drugs nor the surgery. So he went back to the chiropractor, learned more about it, and he got so excited that he himself decided to become a chiropractor. 3 months into school, on his first break, he went home down in South Florida, walked into the house, went looking for my father, found my dad suffering through one of his crippling migraine headaches, and walked up to my dad. He found the atlas vertebrae, which is the first bone in the neck. He found it subluxated, out of alignment, creating an interference to the neurology, to the very brain-body communication that's required for a healthy body. And my brother, through palpation, only 3 months of school, located this area and started adjusting my father. While he was home on break, he did a series of adjustments, went back to school. 6 months went by. My father called my brother on the phone and said, I can't believe it's a miracle. The headaches are gone.
Wow.
22 years later, to this day, my father has not had one of those headaches off of all the medications, kidneys, liver, all those organs healed up. 71 years of age, takes 0 medications, off his Synthroid after 34 years.
Wow.
He's back to his normal military weight of 50 years ago. He's lean, he's healthy. At the age of 71, my father does up to 250 push-ups per day.
Oh, isn't that great?
He couldn't do that when he was 31. He could do that at 71. He's in better shape, better quality life. He's lean, healthy. His brain chemistry is normalized now, and he's got full quality of life restored. And I saw this happen. I was a pre-med student, and I said, you know what? I'm missing the big picture here. You know, it's not. There's more to it than just drugs and surgery. Yes, drugs and surgery are essential in emergency situations. To break a bone, have a laceration, a burn. Obviously, chiropractors can't help with that. Those are urgent situations. But we're talking about healthy lifestyle, quality of life. And I saw that. I'm like, holy smokes! I want to learn more about it. I want to understand it. And I became passionate about it. And I left medicine behind, and I decided to go to chiropractic school to deliver this unbelievable gift, above, down, inside out, natural health restoration from the innate healing wisdom of our bodies by working with the nerve system. And that's what we do as chiropractors, restoring structural integrity to the nerve system, neurological integrity, and by doing that, elevating healing potential to its highest level. And when that happens, you can heal at your best, you can perform at your best, you can work and live at your highest potential. And that's really what chiropractic is about.
I love that.
At your highest potential.
I love that. And Dr. Dan, the one thing, hearing your story, because I've heard this story before, it almost makes me want to cry a little bit. And I'll tell you why. Because of the thousands and thousands of people that we've seen over time, there's a little bit of somebody that's not only functioning at a higher level of health and vitality, but they're just slowly dying. They're not living up to their potential in any way, shape, or form. And you can't help but think about, how does that affect everybody else in their life? We talked a little bit about that belief system of the allopathic model, of how, if the medical doctor says blank, most people will move forward, believe it, and not really look down another path. And one of the most amazing things that I often think about, being in this chiropractic world and understanding things, is you absolutely save lives on a daily basis. And I walk away from our whole entire community realizing that between the pharmaceutical industry spending an estimated $35.5 million a day in advertising, the lobbyists that are out there, the medical model, the AMA, that they're literally educating us into a belief system that we don't necessarily have that power to head down different paths. And what I'm hearing from you is that, your family may have fallen into that just a teeny bit, but when your brother entered into chiropractic college, you literally saw amazing changes begin to occur with your father, who now his whole life has changed. How has that made you, and I can only imagine, such a passionate chiropractor, to instill that message into your community so that other people can be well?
I think really the very message that our communities need, the hope that's given to them, is not necessarily even the message that their spine, their nerve system regulates every organ of their body, that brain is used to control, transmits life, health, healing, energy, force, and power, strength. Everything your body needs to exist and live and be healthy comes from the brain through the spinal cord out to the organs of the body. Even greater than that message, even greater than the scientific clinical application of what it is that we do, the greater message and a message that gives hope and just gives people an understanding of how powerful their body is, that they are designed to be well, they can be restored back to life and health and healing, they can have their quality of life back, that we don't talk about disease, we talk about dis-ease. That's our word, that's our nomenclature in chiropractic. Why? Because disease annotates the fact that it's a permanent situation, not a temporary situation. And if it's permanent, then it can be treated, and it can be treated for life. It can be managed for life, allopathically.
Mm-hmm.
But in chiropractic, the very definitions that we utilize on a daily basis, our vernacular is a hope-driven vernacular. When you tell someone, well, your body, when the signals are not getting to your organs properly, that's a state of dis-ease, lack of balance, lack of harmony, lack of equilibrium, and so that connotes a temporary situation, this ease, that you're just out of balance. We just need to remove the interference. And better than that, when we do, there's this inborn innate wisdom. That same power that made your body can heal your body. The same power that formed your heart, that formed your eyeballs, that formed your thyroid, that formed your kidneys, that formed your legs and arms and hands and feet, that same power that developed you can restore you back to life and health, and in following that can maintain you in a phenomenal quality of life for the rest of your life.
I'm so excited you're with us this morning.
I gotta tell you, Dr. Dan Yachter, I'm grateful and thankful for you and for your time. It was absolutely amazing. His life-saving changes and story about his father. I've got to ask you, how many people do you know that are living with terrible, debilitating migraines, with sickness and illnesses and diseases, that will sit there and tell you there's nothing that we can do? Or maybe a medical doctor said there's nothing we can do. And I'm here to tell you, there are so many things you can do to be well. There's so many things you can do to change your health, your vitality, your quality of life. And I'm going to leave you with a very interesting quote, which was done by Dr. Alex Lickerman. And he's the former director of primary care at the University of Chicago. And what he said was that most medical doctors have a lack of time, a lack of training, and interest in helping patients stay well. And at the end of the day, I ask you, what do you think your doctor's role is in facilitating wellness, in you being the healthiest you can possibly be? Or are they simply just suppressing symptoms? Has your doctor ever given you a prescription to exercise, a prescription to eat well, to have regular health and wellness visits designed to promote you being the healthiest you can possibly be with your quality of life? Do they talk to you about seeing a wellness chiropractor? And do they even understand what one is? With being in practice for as long as we have, close to 15 years now, my husband, Dr. Evan R. Christman, he's such an amazing wellness chiropractor. But if I had a dime for every time a patient called and said, my medical doctor said not to see you, my neurologist said not to see you, you could hurt me, I got to tell you guys, the reality is, ask your doctor, how much education do they have in chiropractic? How much education do they have in wellness? And I mean getting you well so that you are so incredibly vibrant and full of quality of life that you're not relying upon man-made chemicals and you're not relying upon surgeries that oftentimes are life-saving. But at the end of the day, I don't care who you look at, it promotes sickness, it promotes illness, it promotes you having a low quality of life. And aren't you supposed to be well? That's what life is about, enjoying it to the absolute fullest. And I can't wait for you to tune in next week. This is going to be such an amazing show. We're going to be interviewing some of the top doctors throughout the world. And we've got another amazing doctor that we're going to be interviewing next week. He's such an amazing guy. But I also want you to see that you have the opportunity to be well, make great choices. And one of those choices, tune in live every single Saturday from 8:30 till 9 a.m. on Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman on WAMD 970 AM WYRE WKHZ, and you can watch us on www.khztv.com, and make sure you tune into this radio station all week long while you work and play and spend great time with your friends and family. The music here is amazing, the people are wonderful, and I wish you the best in your health and vitality.